Welcome to the water. This is Navajo Natural speaking. Bringing you a fish room tour today, 2026 spring fish room tour. Here's just a quick look around. I know that wasn't fish, it was guinea pigs, but we got them in here. Just a quick look around here in the fish room. We're going to be starting right here in my rack. We'll start right here at this 20 long. So this 20 long's actually, when I set it up, I split it down the middle. If you see on the side closest to us, the half closest to us, it's sand and crushed coral, and on the farthest side it's gravel. That way I could get some plant growth in there. Hopefully the shellies weren't going to disturb it too much. I have shell dwellers in here, and then I also have breeding trio of platinum half beaks. Haven't been able to spawn the half beaks yet, but the shell dwellers, it's a whole different story. They are spawning like crazy. Have multiple generations growing up in here. I've been harvesting these invasive snails up in the Salt Lake area from my uncle's house. This is one of the shells right here. I'm not certain, those two right there, actually, that one and that shell are the invasive snail up north. Everything else is mystery snails, but they seem to, this guy's actually taken to that shell, so I think I need to go collect more from Uncle's garden. But yeah, need to remove guppy grass. I'll probably take some guppy grass up to the Greater Salt Lake Aquarium Society auction next month. Moving on, we have, this is just a pea puffer tank. I've been trying to spawn them, no luck. Think I'm gonna move them and redo this tank. But this was an attempt, this little, it's a pea puffer breeding cave is my attempt. I've seen the pea puffers near the mouth of the cave. Put some Java moss in there. And the reason I did that was because I heard, I want to say it was Daku Aquatics talking about how pea puffers like to breed in caves. I'm pretty sure it was him, almost certain. I've had no luck. I need to be better about pulling Java moss. We'll move on to this next tank. I have some wabenmuster fry growing up in here. Absolutely stunning. And then I have two breeding pairs of Zugoneticus tequila. That's the male right there. And then I also have some Aspidoras fuscatatus. Probably have 15 to 20 of the Aspidoras in here breeding up. But so far out of the tequilas, I've got 2 batches. From the first batch, before I had 2 pairs, I probably had 6 fry from the first spawn. And then once I introduced the second pair, my numbers, they doubled, actually, perfectly doubled. I got 13 fry the next time, but one had died. But that was from one female that had dropped 13 fry. It wasn't both of the females. The male was chasing that female. This guy is looking so beautiful. Okay. Oh, there's another one. I just fed baby brine shrimp, so there might be a lot of brine everywhere. This tank I have some super red bristlenose growing up. And then I also have a group of humpback limias. I do not see any out at the moment. I will put some footage of them in here because they're actually super beautiful. Live bear, my first limia I've ever got my hands on. Next tank is my CPD in Aspidoras raymundi or Spilotus tank. Oh, these tanks are all 10 gallons. That one on the end's a 20. Everything I've showed, the last 3 tanks I've showed you have all been 10 gallons. Again, I have more wabenmuster fry in here. You can see them up in the top right corner. And of course, oh, there's a good look at the Spilotus, Raymundi, or whatever one you'd like to call. I can't remember which one's the proper name. There's a good look at one. These guys have a more, I like their patterning on the tail and the stripe on them a lot more. But the Fuscatatas have more of a spotty, more mottled pattern. These guys have that same pattern, but their striping on the body is more prominent. And in my opinion, their finnage it's striped, it's beautiful. And then, of course, the CPDs doing their CPD thing. They're doing good. So this thing right here, I made this out of clay, and that's actually to prevent the Aspidoras from getting into the moss, because the CPDs will spawn over the top of the moss, and I'll pull the moss out, and I'll switch it with moss from up here. And so, for example, I'd pull this moss out, put it into here, pull that moss out, just switch them, and then in a week or so, I would switch it again with this moss. And the idea is CPD fry will show up in here, and they do. And right now, it's not as, my numbers are down because, as you can tell, the snails have taken over. I'm raising snails up here basically. But there's also, right there on the alien's head, there is wabenmuster fry growing up in here too. So that thing right there is just a little decorative piece I made. And then over here, that little ceramic cave is something that I made, just a little fry cave. For the most part, everything in here is mine. Is what I've made with ceramics. Not this though. I can't tell if you can see that in the back. That little cave back there, that's one of my caves. This is an aquarium co-op pisto cave, but super red plecos in here. And then I also have a pair of apistos in here. This tank's just newly set up. Well, not newly set up, but I put the pisto pair in here newly, so it's still figuring out. It's still balancing out. In here, I have CPD fry. Once they grow up from the 5.5 gallons, the cubes, I move them down here. There's also that first batch of, the second batch of tequilas is also near. You can see a tequila fry right there on the right. And then up there, those are all CPD fry, and they're just feasting on baby Brian. Here, Farluella. This is a Farluella grow out. And then there's also, I'll show you some adult Farluellas here in a second. There's also some Zugoneticus tequila growing up in here as well. I'll see if I can't find you one. Oh, I can't see any. They look just like this one guy that I showed you. They look like a miniature version of the mom. Usually they come up here when they see me. Okay. These are my Snapper Creek rainbows. I got them from a guy up north who's considered a legend in the fish breeding community here in Utah. His name's Bob Allen. Super beautiful. Then I also have buffalo head cichlids in here. Steatocranus casuarius. Something like that. But hopefully I'll be able to get these guys breeding. I'm really falling in love with them. And in this tank right next to the rainbows, we have, there's a couple odds and end minnows and shiners. But for the most part, we got odessa barbs in here. Odessa barbs. And barbatus. Scorlomistics barbatus. And then super red plecos everywhere, of course. There's the odessas. I'm going to be getting some odessas from Greg Sage and adding them to this colony. So hopefully that all those, if I get bigger numbers in this tank, hopefully that brings out the odessas and makes them less shy. But that's it for the rack. Here's another look at the rack. Those two tanks down there. The 10s and the 20s. This is my, it's like 125 gallon. It's home to my red rainbows. Here they are. These guys are absolutely beautiful fish. And if you see that tail, that's a Farlowella tail. Here's a female. So the males on their rostrum or their nose, they'll get fuzz. Their nose will get fuzzy the closer they get to breeding season. If you look through the algae in this dirty box, you can kind of see eggs. He's sitting on a clutch of eggs. And Farlowella males will actually guard. You can see his tail on the back of the box there. He's sitting on a clutch of eggs. It's probably these rainbows been picking them off. But these rainbows, the females are super silver and brown. Females remind me of like sardines almost. And then the males, older they get, the bigger that hump almost gets on them, that big forehead. Here they are, absolutely beautiful fish. And they just spar and breed all day long in here. We like to lay in this moss, lay eggs in there. I also have a big group of hognose cories. Haven't cracked them yet. Really like to spawn them. I also have some gastromyzon, or Bloody Mary gastromyzon. I don't see any out at the moment, but I'm going to have my buddy tell you more about the gastromyzon. My buddy NC, Pleco Cavers.
Hey, it's NC from NC Pleco Cavers. Gastromyzon Bloody Mary, also known as the Bloody Mary hillstream loach, is a hillstream species collected originally from the wild. To my knowledge, I do not know the current collection point, But I do know they are virtually impossible to breed in the home aquarium. That is why collectors collect them in from the wild to sell off to the market. Hillstream loaches are a difficult species to sex. However, records in Denmark have suggested a couple breeders breeding gastromyzon species successfully. I got this group from an importer a while back and sent my friend home with 3 individual gastromyzons.
These caves right here are made by me, handmade. They're pleco breeding caves. The rubber lips have seemed to like them. There's also a bunch of rubber lips in here. There's also, I'm not going to be able to show you any rubber lips because they hide and come out at night. But there is also bumblebee catfish, rubber lips. There's zebra loaches. Oh, that tail back there is a super red carbensis female. She is stunning. If she'd come out, she's stunning. But there's a pair of super red carbensis in here. Haven't been able to spawn them, but hopefully I could get them to spawn. But that piece of moss right there and algae, that is on a log, a big old log, and it is just absolutely, I have to pull the algae off constantly almost every day to keep that moss algae free. It is a battle. This Amazon sword right here has been with me for probably 5 years, and it has been beat up, and oh, there's that female. She's absolutely stunning. That's Dottie. But that Amazon sword has been beat up and through it all with me, and finally figured I'd throw it in the big tank for its final resting place. It could live out its life here. But I've been fighting this carpet of Val in dwarf sage. I need to clear this out a little bit more. There's a rock pile right here, right in here, and then it sits on top of this log. It's a hollowed out log, and it runs back through behind that big log. It looks really good, but the sage and the Val took it over. I mean, it's a beautiful look, you know, but I think if I managed it a little bit more, it'd look even better. Because that side looks really good, you know. I need to get the Anubias and the Buse going a lot more. Just been this tank. I need a dedicated day to this tank. And then below this tank, we'll start right here. We have I think every good fish keeper should have a hospital tank. But I just have I have 3 of the Limias in here. They're just finally getting cleared up of they got ick on them because I was keeping them in a cooler basically with air, and I just wasn't able to keep them warm enough while I was up in Salt Lake. I was up in Salt Lake working before I came back from the fish auction. So I had to keep the fish temporarily with me, and I was doing that in a Yeti cooler. Sorry, my cat is trying to get in the way. But they got ick, noticed it instantly, put them in here. Both of the females got ick, which is sad. Hopefully they all 3 of them pull through. That was a zebra loach I was trying to show you. But there's a good look at the hognose and the 200. But down here this is my wabenmuster. I know it looks grungy and dirty. It's my wabenmuster pleco breeding tank. I've bred them probably 3 or 4 times now. And also, there's a bunch of rainbow fry, the red rainbows and the Snapper Creek rainbows, Snapper Creek from the rack and the red rainbows from the 200, all their fry end up down in here, and there is probably around 50 or so of their fry in there. But yeah, that's it for the 200 and what's underneath. There's nothing. Okay. All right, right here is a super green tank, but there's fish in there, I promise. Corydoras splendens, the green fellers, and then Corydoras agazizii. The guy with the blue and orange tail, that's a Xenotoka. It's a goodiad. They call it the common name's the red-tailed goodiad. That's a male and a female right there. But yeah, super red plecos in there as well. Reason the tank's so green is because I overfed. But the Corys, they've been loving the green water. And they've been more feisty, and I've been seeing behaviors I haven't seen until the green water came about. They are just one of my favorite Corys. I love the green emerald color on them. We'll move on to this. It's a 40 breeder. It's a fairly new tank. I have some black Calvis. There's some juveniles in here growing out, and then there's also there's adults in here, if you believe me. There's one hiding behind that rock right there. They're super beautiful fish. I got these from Bob Allen up in Salt Lake, Utah fish legend. But yeah, the fry. So there's a Calvis cave back there, and I actually made one myself out of clay. So hopefully, I think the juveniles more than the parents have taken a liking to it. The opening was a little bit more wide than the typical Calvis cave that they've been spawning in. But yeah, I think once I get some more, I'm gonna add some more rocks and Calvis caves in there here in the front just to get them out. I think that'll do. Before I rearranged it and got the buffalo heads out of here, the Calvis they were acting like they were spawning. Like I was starting to see behaviors I never seen until then. So I just think once they settle back in, I'll have fry from them. We're gonna move over to the last tank I have in the fish room. We'll start right here. This is my Fahaka puffer, my biggest Fahaka puffer. He's probably around 8 or 9 inches. Sorry, my cat is meowing in the background. He's in here with an Altum Angel. But Russell he's a big boy. And reason I have this guy is, as you can see all these snail shells, he just demolishes snails. That's his purpose, and because he's cute. And right here in the same tank divided, I have this tank divided up. It's another Fahaka puffer, or Nile puffer. He's not as big. This is Kenny. He's in here with the big Altum. These guys get along. Never seen them pick on each other. They get along perfect. Same with these two. These Fahaka puffers actually, they've never got along with any fish besides the angelfish. Once I put them with angelfish, that was the only fish that was able to go with them. But yeah, this tank is just like my snail. This is just where all the snails go after I trap them out. I've been also trying to establish a population of just like cherry shrimp in here, but the puffers, they're relentless. So this is the last setup I have to show you guys, and the reason I'm filming through the glass is because I got some wind chimes out there, and they're chiming away. But you can see that guy, she was produced right here at Navajo Naturals. And then there's that black moor telescope goldfish, but that is actually from Luke's Goldies. I'm looking for a male for these girls, hopefully to spawn them. They're super beautiful, and out here in the tub they get super fat during the summer, and you can tell they love being out here. And as soon as they get in the sun, they get so beautiful. But in the back, it's just a green water, just my green watered tub. And then I'm also thinking about, so there's scuds in there. I have my scud colony. And then I'm also thinking about introducing red Russian Daphnia that I ordered from Greg Sage. So I'm going to introduce that out there. Hopefully that takes. That'd be really awesome. But yeah, that's the last thing I got to show you guys. This is Navajo Naturals signing out. Hope you guys have a good one. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. If you do any of that, I'd appreciate that. Hopefully I see you guys in the next one. Navajo Naturals out of here.